Alright, here we are with a new Destiny 2 build, the Void Witch. The Void Witch spent the beginning of her new life on the Tangled Shore, learning what she could from her ghost and staying as far away as possible from the prying eyes of Spire's patrols. On occasion, she would come across a group of Fallen, and every time she would duck and hide. Of course, she had no weapons, no training, no way of knowing what they could do to her. And for a long time, she was lucky, but of course, luck can only get you so far. And it wasn't long before she found herself tied up in the center of an Elixni camp, as they decided on the price they would ask the Spider for. She could feel her hands shaking behind her, tears threatened to claw their way out of her eyes, and in that moment she decided that no matter what, she would never be this helpless, this pathetic ever again. She felt her hands burn, and she saw the eye of her ghost, currently in the hands of a dreg, widen. She relished the opportunity to obliterate them. By the time the protests of her ghost had caught up with her, only purple scorch marks remained. She didn't care. Still, her ghost tried to convince her, told her how dangerous growing her power too quickly could be, how such violence could poison her. She didn't care. All the time she had been on the shore, the only thing she ever counted on was herself. She had no guide, no mentor, just her and her power, swirling purple energy that coursed through her. And for the longest time, this was the nature of her existence, until one night, her ghost spoke of Earth and its people, of her fellow guardians and what they had accomplished, and so that became her destination. Not out of duty or a want to protect humanity, but to learn, to grow her power. Eventually, she was able to steal a ship, and her ghost guided her to the last city. However, when she arrived, she was faced with a bitter disappointment. All the tales from her ghost of great warriors and leaders defending the last city, defending the remnants of humanity, and yet all she saw were inexperienced new lights clinging desperately to the protection of dusty old veterans. She despised them for their weakness. There were some exceptions, of course. Shaxx and Saladin at least had some ideals she agreed with, but so many of her fellow guardians were so blind. They weren't going to survive through friendship or blind faith in the Traveler. They needed warriors, powerful ones. And so she came to a simple conclusion. If you want something done right, you do it yourself. She took on every assignment possible, the more dangerous the better. When not out incinerating her foes, she's coldly burning her fellow guardians in the crucible. And when the Traveler gifted the hive with the light and everyone around her despaired, she simply gave a small smile. How she enjoyed being right. The Void Witch unsurprisingly uses the Void subclass, and of course uses the most destructive super, the Cataclysm Nova Bomb, primarily. But as someone who is all about using the Void to its full potential, the other supers can be used situationally. The same goes for the Aspects and Fragments, though primarily you'll want to be using Child of the Old Gods and Feed the Void, with Echo of Dilation and Echo of Expulsion for stat bonuses, Echo of Instability for the volatile rounds, and Echo of Leeching, just in case Devoured decides to just not work. As for abilities, I like to use the Strafe Glide with a Healing Rift and the Void Wall Grenade. Now of course we come to the most important part of the build, the Transmog Screen. As you can see, you'll want Atmospheric Glow on everything but the chest piece where you'll want Skellige. The helmet of course is Nezarec Sin, the gauntlets are the Celestial Gloves, the chest, the Lightkin Robes, and the boots are the Celestian Boots. As for the bond, feel free to use anything. I decided to go with the Memory of Cade bond. Now as for the weapons, as with the Void Witch's destructive tendencies, she uses the exotic rocket launcher Deathbringer, as well as a Void SMG and a shotgun for that up-close playstyle. Now of course, feel free to use your own mod setups. I just have a basic Charged with Light Elemental Well thing going on at the moment, but you'll probably want to tailor yours more to whether you want to play PvP or PvE. But that brings us nicely onto the playstyle. Obviously, you'll be able to tell from the video, but this build is all about aggression, just dealing out as much damage as possible. This build isn't focused on one activity specifically, so feel free to venture into strikes or crucible. Just make sure whatever you're doing, you're destroying your enemies with purple light. And that is the Void Witch. If you liked this video, remember to leave a like and leave your thoughts down below. Socials and Patreon links are down in the description. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.